Hello everyone and welcome to another track guide video, and today we got Interlagos in Gr.3. And for this one it was kind of an obvious choice, but I've done a couple of laps with the Suzuki Vision Gran Turismo car and I've done a 30.9 with that car, but in just a couple of laps when I took this Lambo I improved my time, and eventually I think this car is much better to drive than all of the other cars around, but it's unstable. So I will show you what I did that kind of got me into, I would say, kind of a respectable time, but there is still some time that I can get. So guys, without further ado, let's get going. Starting with the lap guide, and here I have to say, do not rev up the car that much. So I stayed in the 5th gear too long, you need to upshift into 6th. And the first point is the 15-meter sign. You can eventually see that I started turning in a little bit too late, which made me lose about a half a tenth to maybe even a tenth. I kind of got the time back on the straight, but just as you can see, you can get this one a little bit faster, but make sure to cut all of these curbs a lot. So I'm cutting all of the curbs on the track quite a lot. This car can be a little bit unstable over the curbs, but just make sure that the car isn't sliding before the turn, just like here. I think this is a pretty good example of that. So on the right you've got this little opening, break in the straight line. As soon as you start turning in, you can see that I'm putting in a little bit of power down, so that would be about 20%, a little bit, I would say about 10-15% is just about enough, so the back of the car stays stable. Otherwise, if you completely lose it or just completely let go of everything, the car will eventually start to slide. You can see one more example of that here, going from 4th into 3rd. You can see a little bit of power going down just to stabilize that back end, and when I'm looking at this curb I upshifted into 4th, and I don't know how I managed to save the car here. I should have stayed in 3rd, so just stay in 3rd and rev up the car in the straight. So here, that's another one, that's another breaking point just as soon as I see those marks on the track, and cut this part quite a lot. So acceleration needs to be done in 2nd gear. In the first one the car will start to oversteer and you will completely lose the back. There is no other explanation. A little bit of this curbing here. I'm touching the curb, going down to 1st and upshifting into 2nd, because once again we would like to get a little bit more of that traction. And at this point I was kind of a lot ahead, and until this point everything was looking kind of okay, but we got the curb on the right downshifting too quickly into 1st, so you want to stay in 2nd a little bit longer and do not touch the curb, so the car will naturally turn in. You don't have to touch the curb, and be very careful here. So I didn't go onto the curb. I should have done it a little bit, but not too much, because the car gets very unstable over the curbs. And now this is the last point where I brake on the track, and you gotta brake a little bit in the straight line when the grass ends on the right, going in, and you can see before the apex I start putting in about 10-15% of the power, so the car doesn't slide away from me. So that's the most important part there. So if you're braking, brake in the straight line, turning in, a bit of trail braking, and then when you touch the apex, make sure that the car is stable just by putting about 10-15% of the power onto that stuff. And it was a 30.891. I think it was a fairly decent lap time. I think this of course can go a little bit faster, but guys, I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, you can always hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. So until the next time, bye.
very well.